Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game from the Championships Showdown Chess 960 edition, or the Chess 9LX edition as they're calling it. Fabiano Caruana versus Garry Kasparov. This is game 4 of yesterday's match. So first they played 2 games of the rapid chess and now 2 games of the blitz. So like we've mentioned in the previous video, first game ended in a draw. Second game Kasparov blundered at winning position, so Fabiano won the game. Third game was a blitz game. Caruana won that game, and this is the 4th game, the last day of the first day. So let's see what happened there. Caruana opens with knight to b3, the same way he did in the previous game we've shown, where he had the white pieces with d5. Kasparov continues in the same fashion. Sorry about that. And then now f4 by Caruana. Not e4. e4 was played in the previous game where Kasparov just continued with d4, but here Fabi goes for f4. Now getting the d4 square for himself, so Kasparov will not be able to overextend with the pawn. We have knight to b6 by Kasparov, and now e4. Queen to a4 by Kasparov. In classical chess, you will often hear us saying don't bring your queen out too early, but no one said that about chess 960. At least no one said it so far. So queen to a4, already bringing the queen into the attack, and knight to g3. Another principled move by Fabi. Also in classical chess, you will often hear bring your knights into the game before your bishops. So here Fabi goes with the same principled ideas. We have e6 and now d4, grabbing more space in the center, and knight to c4 now by Kasparov. Playing again, breaking the principles with the same piece twice in the opening, but we don't know if the same principles apply in chess 960 or chess 9LX. So bishop to d3 by Caruana, and now bishop to b4, just bringing more pieces into the attack. Kasparov wants to start the attack against the white king. He's hoping for c3 to get a weakening of the king's position and then just move the bishop, but Caruana says no, you're not getting any weakenings in the position. So queen f1, now preparing to capture here on c4. Although it's hard to say if it's yeah, there is the threat. For example, let's say if a6 is played now, you can capture, and now you cannot claim the queen with, for example, bishop d2 check, because you're just gonna play knight captures and then the queen is protected, so there are no tricks such as this. So you have to do something about the bishop captures on c4, and Kasparov plays b5. He doesn't like knight a5, so the knights get traded off and the game just continues. He plays b5. So slight weakening of the position in front of the king, but if bishop captures on c4 ever happens, he will get a nice open b file for his rook. E captures on d5 by Caruana, e captures on d5, and now knight to c5. And the knight has to be captured. If you don't capture the knight, you lose the game. For example, if queen a5, these 2 squares are covered by the knight, just bishop f5 check wins the game. The king has no squares, you have to block, then you first lose the rook, then queen e2 just goes after mate, and you will suffer more material losses and very soon lose the game. So after knight c5, we have bishop captures, the knight has to be captured, d captures on c5, and then now Kasparov captures on a2. We have queen captures on a2, and the bishop to d4. The bishop will now help out with the defense of the king, and also you are threatening to capture on g7. So f6, another game. Kasparov just plays f6, so it's obviously fine. And now knight to f5, going after the g7 pawn. We have knight to g6, and now just knight captures on g7. King to b7, Kasparov will now try to hide the king so he can use the files for his rooks, and now knight back to h5, going after the f6 pawn. You cannot capture an f6 right away because the bishop kind of has to keep an eye on the e3 square. So knight to h5, and now knight back to e7. Planning knight to c6, and here bishop captures on f6. So it's a very delicate position. White obviously has the advantage, but here Kasparov just goes on an all-out attack. He could go rook e8, prepare to move the knight, just to get the rook to a safer square, but he does it without waiting. He plays knight to c6, and here he's offering the rook on d8 to start some sort of an attack, but it's a blitz game, so you can't really offer spend a lot of time on analyzing the position. But Fabi first eliminates one of the closer attackers. So first bishop captures on c4. He can always capture on d8. We have b captures on c4. Now Kasparov will get maybe the semi-open b file for his rook. Bishop captures on d8, and now rook captures on d8. Knight capture seems like a more logical idea, as you want to keep the rook here for attacking purposes. But after knight f6, for example, you go king to a8 to free up the rook and give up the piece. c3 seems like a nice idea, but it doesn't really do anything. For example, queen to f3. C captures on b2 with check, you're gonna escape king d2, and now you have to do something about this pawn here, for example c6, and after something like knight to e7, the white king is very safe. You're just gonna hide king e2, king king e2, king f2, maybe even king g3, and the white king will be very safe there, and you're just down in material, so white would be completely winning here. So Kasparov decided on rook captures on d8, and now you have knight to f6. We have knight to b4 by Kasparov, and now queen to f3. The queen will now help out with the defense of the queen side here, and also it's on a very nice diagonal eyeing Kasparov's king. You can't start pushing your d pawn right away. So here Kasparov played queen to a4. He's threatening mate. I thought maybe queen to a5 was also interesting, as it threatens this very nice smothered knight to a2 mate, but it wouldn't be a problem because here Fabi can actually castle. And this is one thing I wanted to mention, because I got it completely wrong in the previous video, as I don't play chess 960 myself. The way you castle in chess 960, it doesn't matter what's the position, but once you castle kingside or queenside, the final position of king and rook has to be the same as it would be in classical chess. So for example, if we castle kingside here, we just bring the king over here. The king goes all the way to g1, and the rook has to be on f1. So this is what happens if you castle in this position. And Fabi said in an interview after the game that he completely forgot that he could still castle. I mean, who wouldn't forget in such a crazy position? But yeah, after this queen to f3 move and Kasparov's queen to a4, you could castle. But even after queen a5 and threatening this smothered mate, even if you forgot you could castle, c3 is perfectly fine for black. For example, knight d3 check, king to c2, and you don't have a good follow-up here. So that's that. The white king will be very safe. After queen to f3, Kasparov played queen to a4, attacking the c2 pawn, going for mate right away, and now b3 by Caruana. He also doesn't mind opening up the b file, as now his rook occupies the same file as Kasparov's king. And now you have to decide. If you go knight a2 check, it seems like a very nice idea, but it still doesn't do much. King d2, you play c3 with check, king e1, and the king nicely escapes. You don't have a good follow-up here. So after b3, we have queen to a2 by Kasparov, now threatening this mate. But now again, Caruana forgets that he can just castle to safety here. So instead, Caruana goes queen to c3, guarding the mating square with the queen. Kasparov goes queen to a3 with check, and now you have to be careful. You can't play rook b2 or something, because knight a2 check will pick up the queen. So we have king to d2 by Caruana, and now d4. And now it's a completely crazy position. Kasparov is in an all-out attacking mode, but there is one move that can save Caruana. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this winning idea for Caruana in this position. While I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations for finding such a nice winning idea. That is also a check. And for those of you that just want to enjoy the show, queen to f3 check. And now everything just falls in the right place. After queen to f3 check, Kasparov resigned the game, as there is really nothing more to do here. For example, if you move the king, king b8, you just get b captures on c4, and now everything opens up. Kasparov's queen is under attack. If you trade, then Fabi will first grab the knight with check, only then recapture the queen, but there isn't all that much to do. You could try queen a4, again threaten to capture on c2, but then just c3, also possible. Queen to c2 check, you can even allow this king to e1, and there is no follow-up. There's nothing to do. You can't capture here or anything, as the rook is hanging, and well, next move you're just gonna lose this knight, so there's nothing to do. Even after a5, just c capture, so it's not a problem. So that's one of the possibilities, and another after queen f3 check, king b8, again b captures on c4, like we said, opens up everything. You could try d3 with black. Still not a problem. c3, again, wins the knight. You can't move the knight due to the pin. Pawn captures is a threat. Queen a2 check, you can allow this. King e1, even d2 check, king f2, and there are no more follow-ups. Once you play a5 or something, c captures on b4 is coming, and you are just, well, you're just down material here, and you are very quickly getting destroyed. Once this position opens up, you're either getting mated or you're going to suffer severe material loss. So yeah, after this queen to f3 check, Kasparov resigned, and Caruana won the first day with a result of 3.5 to half. So only first game was drawn, and then Caruana won 3 games in a row, which is not all that well strange, as same fate happens to Hikaru Nakamura, who lost 3.5 to half to Levon Aronian. But Levon is just so great in every type of chess. He plays Backhouse, he plays chess 960, he enjoys all types of chess. You know, some say that this sometimes maybe worsens his classical chess skills, but he says that it actually improves it. For example, when he plays Backhouse, that playing a lot of Backhouse helps him in classical chess, so he can sort of imagine where he wants some of the pieces to be in classical chess and then just bring them there, which is something you have to do in Backhouse. So it's always interesting to hear him say anything about chess and any types of chess, in this case chess 960. So yeah, today is the second day. They will play 4 more games, and if you have any game that you've enjoyed, feel free to suggest it, and we're gonna cover it, as I'm really starting to enjoy chess 960, because even if it's not classical chess, you can imagine the starting position as already a completely new game and see how the players just brawl it out without any opening theory, which is quite refreshing, because I think in the last 100 videos we had like maybe 45 Queen's Gambit declined and 45 Ruy Lopez openings, and that's just I mean, it's great, but it's also refreshing to sometimes have a completely new position already starting from move 1. So that's the game. Once again, I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Jeff Graves, William Carney, Dan O'Hanlon, Parker Grand Prix, and Michael Yelpis for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing this short coverage of the Chess 960 Championship Showdown, continuing the Capablanca saga, and checking up on your suggestions. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.